Well, g'day everyone, we're live. We don't know what we're doing.
Working as we go along.
Yeah,
that's always good.
So welcome to Patreon, and you would have seen a little bit of what we did on Facey, and what everyone said to me was we did the exercises that Francis set for us last week, and I, for one, feel better. And I've got more energy. I said that to Francis just before, and my blood sugars come down to 6.1, which is nearly normal. Now, those exercises, darling, they weren't hard, they were easy, and I got better at them just for that 1 week. And I did say to ladies on here, if you're not mobile, just sit in your chair and do the feet ones, do what you can.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter. This isn't a competition, is it?
No. And if there's already sensitivity at the feet, just start there. Just use the ball at the feet and remove that sensitivity. So even if you're doing that once a day, that's a great start. Things don't have to be complicated to be beneficial. And a lot of the times, the simpler, the better. Why? Because we're motivated to do it more often. And from that, we get improvements. So the thing is repetition. And that's pretty much the key to this. Keep repeating it and see from
make a little routine.
Little routines are fabulous. And what I like to do is have the balls just lying around my home so I see them. And when I see them, it's like there's a moment to actually
so
do
you don't actually fall over them.
No, keep them away. And that's a really good way to prompt you. And when you see, you think, all I need to do is just a minute or two on those balls. And once the feet are active, you start sending amazing signals through to the rest of the body and the rest of the nervous system. And that's pretty much what we're looking at to do energy balancing. So for the body to rebalance itself. And now when I say rebalance itself, it's getting the proper organization between day and night. So making sure that you are aware that there's a daytime routine, nighttime routine, that your body is actually synchronized with that. Because when your body's at odds with nature's cycle of day and night, then we start having conflict, emotional conflict, mental conflict. That's really hard to come out of when that is pretty much a pattern that's ongoing. So we want to try and get back to being as exposed to nature as possible and just watching the day and nighttime routine. Sometimes even listening to nature sounds is fantastic. Just hearing the birds in the morning.
On the roof.
Yeah, how great is that to fall asleep to when you hear the heavy rain at night? So sometimes it's just having little cues of sounds and noise that you can stop for a moment and go, let me just listen to that. And those sounds sometimes can be quite therapeutic. If you live near the ocean sounds fantastic. Very therapeutic.
That's all about balance for mind and body.
Absolutely. And again, the balance is for that separation between day and night, that duality between day and night.
What we were talking about, and most of you were saying, and I'm one of them, I wake up between 2 and 4 nearly every night. Now, I do go to the toilet a few times, Francis, but and I've always been like that. But I can go back to sleep quite easily, but things play on my mind. A lot of you have these problems. You're all saying you have sleep problems.
That's when your body offloads. At that time of the night, if things haven't been addressed during the day, your body will actually seek to resolve it at that time. So that disruption, my mind's not going to settle now. Yes, I'm back to sleep, but I'm not in that deep sleep. Also can happen. It's just a sign to say, give things some thought during the day. Try and get things off your mind. Journaling's fantastic for that, Lyni. So if we just write things down in a journal just to get off the mind,
have a diary.
Or what you could do is if you wake up at that time of the morning or the night, write things down in the journal and say, I would give this more thought once I'm fully awake. Later on that morning when you're having your cup of tea, open the journal and say, this is what I woke up for at 4 o'clock in the morning. I wrote it down, put it to one side, then you fall back asleep. So you get time to address it.
You know what? I'm going to say this is me, Francis. There are things in my life right now. You all think everything's hunky-dory with me. It's not. And I don't want to face some of the things I know I'm going to have to face it. But I keep putting it off and think the longer I put it off, then I start getting sick, and physically as well as mentally. What sort of strategies can you do that can give you the guts really to face things?
That's a great question. Okay. Whenever we feel overwhelmed mentally and we know there are things that we need to address, but it's just either we just don't want to do it at that point in time, or we need some space before we can address it. Any exercise where you're taking the head below the heart. So there's a posture we call, any point you lower your head below your heart actually helps to reset that alarm or that confusion or that, I'm not meant to do this now, but I'm just not ready to do it. It just settles that anxiety. So
that's what it is actually. It's anxiety.
It's just lowering the head below the heart. And sometimes it's a matter, if I just stand up to show this, it's just a matter of maybe resting your hands on a bench and just lowering your head just
Could
below
I
the
try and
arms.
do that with you?
Absolutely. And just lowering your head below. And sometimes that's very helpful just to recalibrate
how do
that
you say
overwhelming
to do
sensation. So let's say that Lyni's got a bench in front of her. So rather than keep the arms out, we're going to imagine she's got a bench in front of her and she's going to rest her arms on that bench and just lower the head in between the shoulders and arms.
Just this far?
And so you're just going at about shoulder height. Now,
Just
preferably speaking, if you feel that you've got the capacity, you'd go down even further, until you can drop your head and chest in front of your legs. So in other words,
does it matter if you bend your
in front
knees?
of the legs.
Does it matter if you bend your knees?
Bending the knees is fine. It's more just a matter of lowering the head. Just lowering the head for a moment.
Just do this.
Yep. So just lower yourself down and lower the head.
And how long would you do that for?
Enough, just take a few breaths. And you'll feel once your head is down and the shoulders are released, there's almost like a hanging sensation. It's that hanging sensation
feel it.
that is the medicine. It's that hanging sensation that is the therapy
it's
itself.
Almost like you're just like that in the wind.
Absolutely. Now, again, movement is a form of medicine for the body. So if I can also suggest to you what happens when the body hangs forward and you just rock from side to side. This rocking sends signals into the part of your brain at the base of the skull that's connected to your gut nervous system. So when something's got you like gutturally anxious and nervous and you need lowering the head and just finger from side to side helps to stimulate the vagus nerve, which works with that part of the body.
And how long would you do that for?
You'll know when you start to it's almost like a feeling of a sigh coming through. So it's
really, I feel like that a lot.
And you want to hang the arms. In other words, you're just saying to yourself, I'm just pulling away from the world for a moment. I'm playing from the world. Go with the flow. Go with the flow.
Francis, just for a little.
If you think of it like this, think of a piece of seaweed anchored to the bed of the ocean, and the water is just moving the seaweed from side to side. Think of your upper body like that seaweed in water.
My eyes when
and if you meditate on that and you think, okay, what would it be like to be swept like seaweed in water and you're just moving? It sets up a different response mechanism. And now we're going into rest and digest as opposed to survival, panic, anxiety, where things are just going straight up. Hot flushes, heat, mental energy. That's all indicative of that. Let's say it's in the category of sort of anxiety and fear and that whole sort of concern about the future.
For us at the moment.
It's very much huge for us.
So for me, in the morning I get up and I hope you're still doing it. So that's the ball exercise with the ball. You can't see me doing it, but I'll do it while I'm talking to you.
If I adjust the camera.
She knows how to adjust everything.
So
I don't know.
Sorry, everyone, I've made your screen.
Now, remember, she just
minimal, but we can see Lyni's feet now.
She's bloody clever, this kid.
So let's have a look.
And remember, this is what I was doing, Francis.
Yeah,
and I had to move the other one as well.
Yeah, and what you're doing, Lyni, is you're almost like walking on top of the ball. So we're not so much, you could massage, you could roll forwards and backwards.
I feel like it's a massage.
Yep, but you're stepping onto the ball until you get that pressure point. And it's that pressure point signal that we're looking for. And then you do that for a few breaths, let's say about 5 breaths, and then you swap to the other side.
And I did this 15 times this morning on each foot.
Fantastic. So if you could just hang out a bit longer. Some mornings you might have not have much time and you want to make it pretty quick. Other mornings
it doesn't matter, does it? No, it doesn't matter.
It's just the repetition.
But I also said to ladies, if they can't stand up for that long, sit in a chair and do it. And it's okay.
Then while you're standing, I'll just show what you could do in the chair. If you're sitting in a chair and you need to add more weight onto the feet, because when you're standing, more body weight goes onto your feet, you can just lean your elbows onto your knees, and that adds more weight down into the ball through the feet. So you just sort of lean onto your knees. In a chair. So if you're in a chair,
I can't do that standing up.
No, if you're in a chair, you're just leaning onto your knees, and that way you're driving some body weight straight down to your feet.
But I found this an easy exercise. I found it very doable, and I hope that a lot of you guys found it doable. Now, I'm not reading all your comments because I'm doing this instead tonight. That doesn't matter. And
So, Lyni, you went from switching on the feet, we call it activating the feet, which is what Lyni's doing now, and then you moved off the ball and you went to a standing position with a chair behind you. So I'm going to place a chair behind you, and you just
did my twirls.
did your twirls.
And this is what I was doing. Everyone saw me. And instead of doing one, I can now do about 3. And they're easy, they're simple, and I'm achieving something.
So
and you
once
said
you
this,
spiraled in one direction,
sit
rotate
down,
and then you sit down, take a
and
moment to pause.
don't go like that. Remember, that was that big thing you said?
Yes, so don't use the chair to push yourself up and off. Try and
I didn't.
strengthen your core and nervous system by using.
Frances, is that good for your gut?
Oh, yes, remember we spoke earlier about
Do you reckon I
the
can get
waistline?
abs?
Absolutely. If you don't use your hands and you're using your feet, it again strengthens your waistline because you need to use your core, and the core is located in this area here, right up through the inner
Can I
thighs as
ask
well.
you something funny?
Please do.
I've got a veranda. You know the veranda. She
Mhm.
doesn't have a veranda. This is the veranda. Now, a lot of us have verandas, you know. We haven't seen those nether parts for years. Now, but would that be good for our
Absolutely.
veranda? Oh,
Absolutely.
by the time we finish, we won't have a veranda. That'd be good, girls, wouldn't it?
Now, for those of you that use the ball to massage not just that kidney point, but massage the whole of your foot, you've got a small intestine, you've got a large intestine point, digestive points in this area here. Now, what happens is these digestive points send signals into the shins, okay, and into the calf muscle. The calf muscle and shin has a lot to do with the large intestine.
Oh, how come?
And it's just the way the reflexes work. It's almost like communication signals.
So
if there's any
muscle,
issues below the knees, usually it's got to do with the lower belly here and the large intestine not being able to eliminate things from the body as efficiently as what it should.
If you've got a big calf, you've got a big intestine.
Not so much the calf. It's more about sometimes when the lower legs feel quite heavy, sometimes you might feel like, oh, the legs feel quite sore below the knee, the calf muscles feel sore, the Achilles feel sore. It has a lot to do with the elimination organs of the lower body. So by doing this work with the ball at the feet and then standing up and twirling, you actually improve the functioning of feet and lower legs. So we don't get that restless leg syndrome, heavy leg syndrome, blood circulation issues where old blood doesn't sort of go back up.
So it
the channels towards
your muscles so that if you have trouble walking,
it actually strengthens circulation. So even if it's not focused just on the muscles or the muscles improve, it's more to do with circulation and nervous system functioning.
I've got neuropathy, as you know, which is all to do with circulation and nerve endings. And that's going to help.
Absolutely, because a lot of the points that your foot will engage with the ball have to do with the motor points and sensory points. So all those neuropathic points.
Wow.
And neurological points.
That's fantastic. So just remember, keep doing those exercises. And then Frances is going to make us do another exercise with our arms. Is that right?
Well, what I'm hoping all you'll go on and explore is I just sort of stand up.
She's going to make me, which means I'm going to make you.
So then until now you kept your arms by your side and you
just like
direction rotated, and then we went some go clockwise and anti-clockwise. The next challenge is you raise your arms up like airplane arms and you twirl. It gives you a much more open landscape to work with, and so the brain has to now consider a lot more things from brain to feet because you're using more of the horizontal dimensions of the body.
Do we do the same?
So we're going to do the same thing in twirl and just see how you feel as you twirl with your arms.
I quite like that. Does that strengthen the muscles of your arms?
It does, and it strengthens your awareness of your environment too. So it's not just, your frame is narrow. You've actually opened up your frame now. So there's more what we call proprioceptive awareness.
So how many of these would you do?
I would do 3 to 5. Again, first clockwise. Yep. And then I would do 3 to 5 anti-clockwise. Now, rather than sit down, so while Lyni's going through that process, rather than Lyni sit down at the end of this.
Is that good? It came out.
Absolutely. Yes, we've got to clear the gases in the body. When you come back to your neutral position, Lyni, I want you to lift your right foot off the ground. It doesn't have to come up high, but I want you to see if you can balance on one leg. All right, so we're just lifting the knee up.
Hang on.
So you could lower your arms down, just find your balance.
How long?
And you're counting from 1 to 5.
1, 2, 3, Oh,
Okay.
I can't
so,
do
no,
5.
not a problem. So that way now you know where your falling point is at roughly about 3 to 4 counts. Then you try the other side. So now it's,
And with
remember,
my arms like this.
you can keep your arms relaxed. So now it's left foot off the ground, just bringing your knee up and finding your balance. And you'll notice that one side probably has less stability than the other side, and that's what to do with opposite side of the brain. So we're now just getting a little bit of feedback.
I'm getting better already.
And then after a count from 1 to 5, you place your foot down. Now, what can happen over the days is your balance might improve and get better. Then you could take your knee up a bit higher until you get to this point, Lyni. You lock your fingers together, you rest your knee in your hands, and now you're balancing with your knee at the height of the hips.
It might take us a month to get to there.
No, there's no rush. This is more giving you more layers to work with once you feel you're improving. So it's not a matter of going straight to here. It's more a matter of progressively.
Because I actually put my foot behind me rather than like that. Because I can't do what you just did.
No, if you need to put your
foot do that again
behind you, you can do that. So I go side on. I'm lifting my foot up off the ground, and then as the days go on, I might get my knee towards.
I can't do it.
So I might get my knee at the height of my hips, and then
can I ask you something else?
Then I'm here.
If you had struggled, could you get a chair to start with?
Absolutely. Always have a chair in front of you. When you do balancing things like this, that way you could
have a chair here.
Yep. And you can just touch the chair.
So to start with, everyone, maybe hold a chair.
And start with your touch of the chair being quite light and gentle. So don't lean your body weight onto the chair, because eventually you're trying to remove as much weight away from the chair and rely on just a whole body mechanism.
So this is what we'll do. We'll do the ball exercise every day. We'll do the twirl. We'll do the twirl like
open
this
up the
now.
arms and twirl.
Instead of doing the twirl like this, we're going to do it like this, but the same twirl. So that's not too hard. We can all do that.
Go slowly if you have blood pressure, especially low blood pressure. So just be very careful
aware of your blood pressure.
Blood pressure, and if you find that there's any issues with blood pressure, take it really slow. Keep your arms by your side.
And then after you've done that and you've sat down, I might do these exercises
and you're just working one
so
leg
that we've got it all figured. So I'm going to start this way and we're going to do it again. Look, I've never done so much exercise in my life. And I'm really happy because she said I'm allowed to get rid of my wind.
Absolutely.
And it's healthy to fart, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And a lot of the pressure points that I was referring to in the lower leg calf muscle are actually to remove gas in the large intestine. Oh. So if anyone wants to take this, if anyone would like to take this further, after you've used the ball at the soles of the feet, you could use your hands and just massage your lower leg. I'm using my thumbs at the back, my calf muscle, and I'm using my fingers around my shin. And by massaging that, it can resolve a lot of gas issues in that lower part of the body, especially when it's creating a whole lot of tension and discomfort, whether it be during meals or after meals.
And I'll tell you what happens. And Frances has had 5 kids, so she would know it happens on its own. I don't force them, they just come out. They can come out when you're least expecting.
So you could use this massaging effect just to make sure that the gases are actually not staining the body and the body's actually
eliminating. And I think that's healthy to get rid of them.
Absolutely.
So I've done that, and then next, this is what we're going to do, and this is the exercise now instead of putting your arms to the side. So that's the next stage. It's not hard. And, you know, if you have trouble walking, just do one. Doesn't really matter, does it?
Not at all.
You don't start off. No, yep. And that's the best thing about Frances is she knows she'll be so proud of us that don't do that. She'll be just as proud of us for having a go as for people that are doing all sorts of wonderful things. Because what you're doing is wonderful. Because you haven't done it before.
I'd like to know how you feel when you do twirl in one direction or the other. How do you feel once you stop? Do you feel like you can stand still? Do you feel slightly wobbly? Do you feel dehydrated? If you do feel dehydrated, make sure you drink sufficient water during the day.
Remember,
it's really important that you have
remember the water in the glass with the letting all the sunlight in. Remember, you're going to put a bit of salt in it. Remember what we spoke about.
Hydration is so important because
Last
sometimes when you do these twirl and rotation exercises and you feel a little bit dizzy, a bit wobbly, it's not the exercises. The exercises are highlighting that your body's dehydrated and it needs a bit more water to be able to function properly and hold its balance. So balance relies on water, proper water balance.
Today.
So
Right.
when I use the word electrolytes, we're looking at water that actually has some sort of nutrition in it. So we're looking at water with a bit of lemon in it, or water with a bit of salt in it. I spoke about rosemary last week, which is a great herb to put in water. Hey, Lyni, that's it. You've got your balance.
I will be better by next week. And this is going to be the exercise that we're going to do every day for the next week. We're just adding one on.
Find your balance and go from 1 to 5. And see if you can hold it at 5, steady and balanced.
I can't yet.
Without creating tension. So we want minimal tension in the body. So just careful with how you're holding your jaw,
So if
your
your body,
facial muscles,
your body
your
won't
neck.
quite do it, just don't.
No, just hold your fingers gently on the chair and just support the balance.
And just do the best you can.
Absolutely.
And I can't do it very well yet, but I will by the time it's
All the
finished.
time, yeah.
So every day hopefully is a little bit easier.
It is because your body becomes more familiar with it.
Is that what it is?
It's absolute repetition, and that's how we learn more skills. And we and by adding more skills, what happens is your brain develops and grows even more. So we talk about plasticity, growing more and more capacity and skills. So rather than the brain degenerating or the brain becoming weaker or the tissue of the brain becoming weaker, when you try something new, you actually stimulate the brain to grow and develop.
Can I ask you that because we're doing these physical exercises and they help us mentally, for people that might have a history of Alzheimer's in the family or mental illnesses,
Yep, and even any sort of mood imbalances or mood disorders like depression and things like that. Absolutely.
So these exercises.
These are all grounding exercises. There's an expression within the energy balancing aspect of things, which refer to it as the triangle of power. So that's where you recognize your feet on the ground and the top of the head. So the top of my head and my feet, if I was to sort of draw it as a diagram, represents something like a triangle, an extended, elongated triangle. So by visualizing that triangle, it can actually steady you when you feel that you're a little bit wobbly, not quite placed in time and space correctly. And that's the power of the triangle allows your body to just find its grounding through its feet. So in other words, there's your foundation, both feet on the ground. When both feet are on the ground properly and both legs of equal length, the pelvis then is where it needs to be. It's stabilized, not tilted to one side or the other or rotated. It finds that steady position. Then from that, you have an equal length of both sides, and there's the top of the head. Sometimes I like tapping the top of the head so I actually know where the feeling of the top of my head is. So if you've done the twirl and you've opened up your arms and you've extended one way, pause, and you've gone the other way, if you feel a little bit wobbly or confused, sometimes tapping the top of the head and feeling your feet can just reorganize your feeling in your environment. And again, it removes any tendency for the brain to be caught in confusion. And again, this is learning a new skill. So within that, your brain has to really reorganize itself in a new way. You're introducing something new. And within that, it needs to find new pathways.
So all of us are learning something new, and that's always a good thing. Doesn't matter our age, you can always learn, and we all know that. But these little exercises are going to help us going forward. And I know that what she said today about dealing with things was actually probably one of my problems, has been for a long time. And we all have problems in our lives that we all have to deal with. And these exercises, if they can help us get the guts actually to do
have our emotions, have our stability, and give us more courage. So once you feel that you've done exercise, what happens as a result of all of this is you do feel a little bit more satisfied and confident, and then that courage comes forward following that. So we are putting emotions in the right order, if that makes sense, if I can express in such a way. You are organizing your emotions so that you are left with almost like emotions that allow you to take on exciting things, to do things, or to finish off projects, or to go forward with new ideas. So it puts you in that arena where the liver becomes happier. And when the liver is happier, we get a better night's sleep, and the body again self-organizes. It's got the capacity to reorganize itself. We're just giving it the little tools and instruments and exercises to be able to step forward in a happier way and in a way that's not riddled with anxiety and the thought that, you know, the future is going to be somewhat a big concern and terrible, which is not hard to think like that these days. There's so much information at us.
I think we're all thinking the future's so scary
and overwhelming, because it's really hard to organise all this information that we're getting.
We can't take it in. When COVID first started, we had a lady on here, Helen Kane. She's still a berry, but she's a busy berry. And she is a lecturer at Melbourne Uni in the medical field. And Helen, I've known Helen for many years. You'd love Helen if you met her. And we used to talk about things on here, and everyone was talking about being so tired, and we were just exhausted. And she said, that's your brain trying to take all this in with the COVID. And your brain's trying to process all this information, and it can't. It's overloaded, and we were exhausted from it. But I think we're still exhausted from it. So these little exercises too are waking us up so that we can process it all bit better.
And helping the brain to improve day by day, rather than get degenerate or get overwhelmed so much that it starts sort of shutting down, not wanting to think. And when it's thinking, overthinking about the concerning things rather than applying maybe that to learning something new. And new things to learn don't have to be complicated. As I keep saying, just simple new things. Yeah. Something small each day, or you know, going to the garden and just picking some flowers and organising a nice little flower arrangement and putting that in your home. Just little things that actually inspire you, and looking at something beautiful each day. One small thing that sort of allows you to feel.
Go into your garden and look at your flowers.
Look at your flowers.
Oh, do you know what I do every morning, don't you?
Arrangement of flowers is a lovely way of doing it.
I'll go and see Kev. Yeah, every morning, Brucey and I, and you know, my eyes are, I don't know, I can never find Kev. He's the colour of a branch. And every day Brucey goes out, yep, Kev's there this morning. So that's my happy place. I go out and I have a chat to Kev. Yeah, he's in a ball, ignoring the hell out of us, but he's there. And so that's what I do now.
And we keep it simple. Nice, just simple engagements. They're powerful.
Yeah, and it's the littlest things. And I know a lot of ladies that love their gardens. They just go out and look at the flowers, or pick a little tomato and eat it, just the simple things. And I think we've got to go back to that, everybody. None of all the crap, you know, none of all the big stuff. But I tell you what, we're going to get there. And, you know, Frances is fantastic, and she understands that we're just ordinary people having a go, that this is a whole new world for us, but it is a whole new world, and we're all part of it. And Frances, you're one of the ones, to me, you're paving the way.
Oh, thank you, Lyni.
Paving the way for people like us that are just ordinary. Oh, I don't know why I'm crying.
Emotions are fabulous when they're expressed in this way. So just just something new, a little bit of something sort of different and new each day, or expressing an emotion each day where you feel at least it's coming through. Absolutely, at least it's coming through, and you feel like, oh, you know, sometimes it feels great to have a good cry.
It does.
You know, at the end of a good cry, you just feel like it's
people come in here and we'll do a session with you and end up crying.
Absolutely, and it's an important release. It's a therapeutic release that takes that burden away from the heart. It takes that burden away from the sheath around the heart, and it does aerate that part of the body. So it's so important.
I think it shows that it is two things are connected.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mind and body's connected.
You will find a lot of these movements. No, not at all. You will find a lot of these movements will start to just what I call mobilize or shift emotional energy in the body, which is what I call energy balancing. And that's what I specialize in: energy balancing and personal development.
Is that what's happening to me?
Absolutely. You will be shifting energy. You'll be moving it around, and just having, you know, sometimes you won't even be in front of someone. You'll do these movements and you feel like, oh, I just feel a little bit teary. Or sometimes you feel like, I feel this sort of sense of lifted excitement and energy, and you might want to do something you've never done before. It comes in different ways at different times. But emotional processes are important, because we go then from being emotional to actually then understand the emotion, becoming emotionally intelligent, or using that vitality in another way. So important, very therapeutic, and we should never hold back our tears. Sometimes we feel more comfortable in certain environments to share this, as you do with your amazing tribe and group of people.
They cry
Obviously,
too.
You
all cry just like I do. And I know.
It's very, very important that we release these emotions in safe environments. And I think that's the key, just feeling safe and comfortable.
It's true.
And really that's where it starts to just be processed and come through. So yeah, I do see that a lot, especially with the yoga that I teach. And again, it's very focused on energy balancing, that we want these emotions to be in a healthy way in our body, not creating toxicity, not affecting our sleep patterns and so forth.
Yes. Can I ask you something?
Absolutely.
You've got 5 children. Mm-hmm. You must know all about bringing children up, and with the way you are with your life and with your balance and everything. So have you always brought your kids up to know all about this healthy life balance?
It's not about, I don't feel that health and a healthy life is pegged down in a particular way, like it just looks like this and you have to be like this. I think we find out as we go along what's healthy for us.
Yes.
So every family's
everyone's different.
So what may be healthy for me and the functioning of my family and children and husband may not work for someone else, but some variation or modified version of that.
But we have the basics same.
We have the basics and we want to feel as though we are feeling comfortable and content with the way things are. We don't want to feel sort of overexcited and joyous because that's also an emotion in excess or too elevated.
We want evenness.
We want evenness. That contentment sits somewhere in the middle of the two, And I think sometimes it takes just letting life teach you where that's at and where that is for you.
Well,
and that's all I've done all of my life, and a lot of the times, it's derailed to find where the foundation is. Sometimes gone in excess, and then
that's how we learn.
And we learn. I call it polarities from one extreme to another, and then you find that neither really works, but somewhere in the middle. And that middle usually is not narrow. It's actually quite a nice, decent middle ground. And then from that, we share experiences like we do, and you share experiences and you share techniques, and sometimes you share what works and what doesn't.
And like our group, we all share our lives, and our lives are all different. Well, they're all different, but we all have the same.
It's a similarity.
We have ups and downs and goods and bads, and we have the shit and we have the good stuff, and we've
Absolutely.
all got
it's such a mixed bag.
I remember someone saying to me once that I just want to be like someone. I won't mention names. Someone I grew up with, and they said, "Oh, I wish I was like so and so. They just have the perfect family." Well, they might look like they have. It doesn't mean they do. And no one's perfect. No one. We're all different.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so don't think you want to be like someone else, and you don't want to be like me.
It's good to find your own way.
Yeah. And you're allowed to be different. You're allowed to be you, and it's important to be true to yourself.
What I've learned over time with working with a lot of people is the liver becomes a lot more settled and balanced when you find your own way. It's like your purpose. I'm looking for a purpose in life.
I think you found yours.
And that sort of sense of life's feeling somewhat okay brings a bit more stability and health to the liver, which allows us to have that
to be content with yourself, with who you are,
and what you're doing. Yeah. And if we're trying to find what our contentment is, sometimes again doing these exercises just helps to aerate the body, just gets rid of those emotions that might be just stuck in the tissue. I call it issues in the tissues,
issues. And I love that one. Issues in the tissues.
Stuck in the tissue. And when we do exercises like this, it does create, a different level of health in the body. And it moves emotions that are just holding us back. So it's all good.
Well,
it's all in good health.
Bringing it out in me.
It's all part of our wellness.
That wasn't meant to happen. It just did. But I do mean that. I think that we're entering a brave new world, and Frances is one of our leaders to show us the way. And I think you are, but I think maybe I am too.
Absolutely,
but in a different way.
Yeah, we all are finding our courage and our
yeah. And I love you. I'm good at bringing you all together, and Frances is great at teaching us. She's a teacher, and Thanks. We're going to keep doing this, I think. So now we know I'm going to do a video of the exercises, and I'll do a couple of lives of them every day.
That sounds
Adding
fabulous.
that on.
Yeah.
I've been doing that for the last week, and I can see a difference. And this is the next, like, none of it's hard. Give it a whirl. You've got nothing to lose. And if I can do it, who hates exercise? But it's a different exercise. This is a holistic approach. This isn't running a marathon.
No, not at all. But what I do want everyone to keep an eye on is just the way your emotions are responding to what you're doing. Write it down, journal it, just take note of how you feel as your days go on, because that's important.
Send me a message because Frances would like to know exactly how this is impacting on you, because she's the teacher and she wants us to do the homework, and she wants to do that. She wants to see our homework at the end and how it's affected us and how we feel. And that will, depending on how you feel about all this or what you need, what we do next. And the sleep thing has been a big thing with most of you. And so obviously a lot of it is really just dealing with stuff before you go to bed.
Having a bedtime ritual, and start that 2 hours before your actual bedtime. Just little things, maybe just tidying things up around the house and putting things away. So when you wake up the next morning, everything is in a new order to start your day. As I mentioned
like
before,
me with the
writing
dishes
things
from
down.
last night all sitting in the sink.
Sometimes it helps to clear that and not wake up to that in the morning. Sometimes it just helps, and we're just experimenting with things and seeing what works. You know, sometimes some things work for someone and doesn't work for someone else. Another thing is enjoying a really nice cup of tea. Not straight before bedtime, a few hours before bedtime. So choose your favorite herbal tea, your favorite sleep tea, and have that ritual.
What's the best tea, you reckon?
I'd suggest chamomile. There's a good combination at this time of the year, which would be chamomile and lemon balm. Together, yep. So you could have them separately, but if you have lemon balm in your garden, you could buy chamomile dried. You just combine the two. It's a really wonderful settling,
and you pop it in a little teapot.
Yep, little teapot, and just have whatever sort of quantity suits you. Just that ritual of holding a warm cup and just smelling it. It's just there is a almost like a sacredness
like
around
a tea ceremony.
It is, yeah. And there is a lot of ancient cultures, especially from the yogic to the Tai Chi, Qigong, a lot of those discipline arts actually use tea ceremony as a way to almost like bring you back to your spirit, if that makes sense. The world around us can rattle us and actually disconnect us from our, now when I use the word spirituality, doesn't mean religion. Okay, spirituality is you feeling as though you are you belong, your sense of self, that you're well placed in this world, that you're here, you deserve to be here, and you're here at the right time as well. So that sense of spirit and soul, that sense of contentment that comes from not just the heart, it comes from the head and heart communicating. So it's actually these two areas having a.
Sometimes I have a feeling, and it just sometimes, it's not often, and it's an overwhelming feeling that I've been here before and I belong. Have you had that? I've also had it the opposite, where it's an overwhelming feeling that I don't belong, and it's just displaced, just these feelings. And it's almost like when I feel like I've been here before, it's been like this millisecond of, it's weird, but it's the feeling.
There's a familiarity.
Yes.
Something feels familiar and there's no logic as to why it should feel familiar.
Absolutely.
And all of a sudden it's like, this experience or this feeling or sensation is familiar to me, but it's out of context of everyday life. It just has. Now that whole spiritual aspect, sometimes we sit down having a cup of tea, just brings you back into you. And I feel that's a very important connection to have with yourself. Now, it might take other things. For some of you, might take just putting on certain music. The cup of tea might not be the thing, but having certain sound or music,
or even not
drawing. For some of us, it's actually just sitting down and just drawing things. It may not need to be an actual picture, but something abstract as well.
Remember we used to doodle, knitting or crocheting or
doodling. Yeah. So any of those things can sometimes put us into a more quietened state of mind, and that quietened state of mind allows us to feel, it's all happening, like having a sigh. And you come back into yourself. You'll feel it. You'll feel it at the level of the skin, the muscles underneath the skin. You sit in your chair properly. There's not this sense of,
So we're not
busyness,
tense.
not tense. And so your body, again, those issues in the tissues have less of a hold.
Don't you just love that? We're never going to forget the issues in the tissues.
So just find, I encourage everyone just to find something that speaks to you. Find your thing, if I can say it that way.
Be kind to yourself.
Be kind to, first of all, self-care. Be kind to yourself. Priority. Absolutely.
You know, everyone, what a fantastic night it's been. And what I love is it's so much more than just the physical. And I'm sorry I cried.
Never apologize for that. It's authentic. It's authentic. And
I didn't put it on.
And that's, that authenticity is really what we should all arrive in, being more authentic and being true to ourselves. And hopefully then we attract people that are that way as well. And when
I think a lot of our, all the people on here, we're all a bit the same, I think. And we all have our ups and downs and goods and bads, and don't we? And it's been over 2 years for most of us now. We're into the 3rd year of it. So we're still struggling. 3 years, the 3rd year. When's it going to end? So we've just got to manage it. So thanks to Frances and Wellness Wednesday, we'll be managing it.
Take care of ourselves and yep.
Anyway, everyone, love your guts. Got to go.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
I've got to end the stream. I don't like my lipstick still not pink. Now.